Hello everyone, welcome to our second podcast.
大家好, everyone. I am super excited to record this episode.
I know, me too. I'm a happy girl. We had a little bit of issues setting up again, but every week we're going to learn, go with it, and we're going to see how we're going to do every time we come and record a podcast.
I think it took us four hours last time, and this time it only took 2.
I know. I'm really impressed.
Getting better. Okay, so let's have a quick introduction. How was your week this week, Cheryl?
It was great. I am going through some growth issues with my daughter. So she has potty trained. She is off the diaper. So she can pee and sleep through the night. And she's asking to go to the bathroom. Poos, we got issues there. She needs a diaper every time.
She will pee in the toilet, but she won't poo in the toilet.
No, she won't. She will come to me and say, I need a diaper, and that's how we know she's going to need a poo.
Is that because it takes longer to poo and she doesn't want to be on the toilet for as long?
No, okay, so I think now she does a poop dance before she poos. So she's gotten so used to doing that I think she can't sit down and poo. So we're going to have issues with that, but I'm just happy that we over that hurdle. And then she loves the dummy. Dummy is a pacifier for those who don't know what that means. And we have gotten rid of it this week.
And she's 3 years old, right?
She's 3. So she is really old for someone who has a dummy still. The reason why I haven't gotten rid of it earlier is because she is so independent and she sleeps on her own. She's been sleeping on her own since she was 3 months old. She soothes herself. She, never asks to be comforted. If she's upset or had a nightmare, she'll just wake up and take the dummy and her bunny and rub it and suck it and put herself back to sleep. Right. So I did tell her when she turns 3, we're getting rid of it. And we just acted like we left it at school and she went to bed. Fine. She was crying, of course, asking for it, but it was not like she was sobbing. She was more like asking what happened and why would Lao Shi is a teacher here in Taiwan, not put her dummy back in her bag, and why would she keep it? And so we made up a story. So the next night we told her that her babysitter's dog died a while ago, and we said that, okay, you know what, Dummy's gone to visit Xiaobai, and he needs it more than you do, and it won't come back, because remember what we said, when you go to God you can't come back to visit. And she was like, okay, that's okay, I'm okay to share it. So
Aww.
Yeah,
but I think I said to you the other week, what I quite like about it is that you took the blame off yourselves, so she couldn't say, oh, you've got my pacifier, you've got my dummy, why have you got it? It's more, oh, okay, well, we're having to solve this problem as a family, because all of us, there's nothing you can do, there's nothing Alec could do, you don't have it, and it's not your fault you don't have it, so she's not blaming you.
Yes. So she did on the first night think that we hid it, and we did, but we hid it really well. So she went and looked in her school bag, she looked in her cupboards, and she was like, oh, there's really no dummy. And then she was really upset. You could tell that she was almost going through a loss, and I felt really bad, because they do describe this online as that they're letting go of something and it's a big deal. So I felt really bad for her. I was like, this is what it's like for her to have a funeral almost for her dummy. So I'm happy for her. She has not asked for it. She did ask for it last night. She did say I really just want my dummy just one last time. And I said to her, we really don't have any at home,
Well, I remember you and Alec discussing it, and Alec's mum had given you a really good idea about burying the dummies and then putting lollipops down where you've buried them.
Okay, so we want to do that, but now we're worried that if she sees the dummy, that she's going to be like, oh, it's here, it's back, I can have it. So
I think you've come this far.
Yeah, we've decided okay, we're not going to mention it anymore. We won't even bring it up. We are not going to show it to her unless she asks us, can we go bury it? Then we will do that.
I think that's great.
But yes, so this has been 2 weeks of intense. Also for me as a mom, I feel a lot of mom guilt. I feel so worried that I'm doing something wrong or damaging my child, even though I know that there's no way. It's just I know that she's so independent that I feel bad that I'm taking away something that brings her comfort. And So the last week she's been waking up at 5 a.m., which we're not used to. We're used to her sleeping till 7. So we are struggling with that, and we hope that next week she will go back to her normal schedule.
Oh,
So we'll
fingers
see.
crossed, fingers crossed. But one thing I really respect with you and Alec, because I know you did this with sleep training also, is to be consistent and keep trying. And I think Alec was saying to me, your husband was saying to me that, 3 days of hell and then it's done.
Yeah, and it
You know?
literally, I just want people to know, it did take 3 days. 3 days of potty training, no diaper, and letting her know that she needs to let us know that she needs to go pee and that we'll take her to the bathroom. And 3 days for the dummy. And I really thought that 3 days for the dummy would be longer because it was so needy. She's a very tactile child. She needs things in her mouth. Right. Like when she has her bunny, it's like always by her nose, by her mouth, and she's touching, she's feeling. She's someone who is really into like touch and smell. And so I really thought it's going to take a lot longer, and I told Alec, if it takes longer, I don't know if I can be strong because I'm softer than he is. And actually, I did sit with her the first night for an hour before she fell asleep and stroked her face and told her it's okay to be upset. She was very upset. She was sobbing, not howling and throwing a tantrum. I could tell that she was really sad, and I was telling her like, it's all right to be sad. I understand, and this is something we need to do at this age, because I was like, no one else at your age has a dummy anymore, and it's time to let go. Remember what mommy told you when you're 3. It's time to be a big girl, and you can't have the baby stuff. Even though she did tell me, I'm a baby. I'm like, yes, you are mommy's baby forever, but we need to get rid of the dummy.
But I think it's a nice lesson to teach other parents, like, put in the effort, and even if it seems like a struggle for the first couple of days, like, just keep going with it. You've started now, don't stop. Like, keep going and you'll get there. Oh, well, that's makes for a hard week for you.
Yes.
Also,
And how was your week?
I've had a really difficult week. So I'm actually officially 3 months pregnant today. So I'm going to be hitting all the landmarks because we record our podcast on Sundays, and it's always on a Sunday when it hits the next big stage. So officially cool. 3 months now, and I have told people. But last week I got COVID. So that was interesting. I was actually at your daughter's 3-year-old.
I know. And she stayed the whole day, guys, even though she was like, I think I have a little bit of a scratch in my throat.
Yeah, in the heat, which was quite dangerous, really, because it's very hot in Taiwan right now. And the more I think about it, I should have left earlier. But maybe I just wasn't that uncomfortable. When I got home, I felt really uncomfortable, and I'd had a temperature of like 37.55. So I hadn't quite made the 38, probably did when I was at the park though. And I know that having a temperature when you're pregnant can be really dangerous for the baby. So still a bit worried, still think about that. But I called my clinic and they told me to go to emergency. So I went to the emergency room, the emergency part in what do they call it? The emergency,
the ER?
ER, that's it. So I went to the ER and they took my temperature. It wasn't too bad. And then they said, okay, right now we just treat in Taiwan, because it's different in every country, right? In Taiwan, they just treat COVID as a common cold now. But because you're pregnant, they'll treat it as a high risk. So when you're pregnant, you actually are more at risk of getting severe COVID because your immune system's lower, right? So they were like, okay, you sound okay now, your lungs sound okay, like you've got a bit of a temperature, but not really much, like nothing they need to bring down. My symptoms weren't very strong, but it was a gamble. So they said to me, we have this new antiviral drug called Paxlovid. So you can take this and then it will stop the COVID from getting worse. And I was like, I don't know, is it safe during pregnancy? And they said to me, well, yeah, it's safe, but the long-term effects, it's a new drug, so we're not too sure on the long-term effects. And then it just hit me with this dilemma, like, do I take it? What if my COVID doesn't get bad? What if I don't take it and my COVID does get really bad and then I'm questioning why I didn't take it. You know, it's really hard as a pregnant woman to like make these decisions, and you should always question everything and research everything. So the doctor gave me 5 minutes to like leave and go and think about it. And after a little bit of research, I just thought, you know, I've had COVID before. I've had my vaccines. I've had 3. I didn't get the 4th, but I've had 3. And I just thought, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. I think I'm going to be okay. And I took that risk. And thankfully, it paid off and I was okay. But I'm not saying to other people,
don't
do the same or don't do the same. You have to do what's right for you.
Just go with your gut feeling.
Yeah. And if you're not feeling well, and I know women that had taken it and they were fine. Yeah. I just chose not to take it. So I was feeling really ill on the Saturday, but then by the Sunday I was okay. Monday I felt really low in energy and like groggy. Tuesday, all right. By Wednesday I was fine.
Yeah.
I had 5 days off work. I took them because I wanted to give my body that chance to rest, because, you know, your body's fighting against a virus and growing a baby at the same time. And if work's going to give it to you, then it would be stupid not to take it.
Do it. Take the whole...
So that was difficult. But on a highlight, I did go shopping yesterday. I bought my first pregnancy things because I'm at 3 months now. Yes. So I'm trying to allow myself to start enjoying being pregnant and not be scared of being pregnant anymore. So I really wanted a maternity pillow, and I researched this brand called Hugsy. And they're not cheap, but it's worth it. And you go to this like really nice fancy shop and they have like a bed made up, and you go on and you try all the pillows and they give you a chat about it, and then you choose the materials for the pillow. I'll show you at the end of the podcast.
Did you try the pillows? Did you lie on the bed?
Yes, I got on the bed and tried all the different positions, tried all the different fabrics, and then I brought a swaddle as well, because the cotton that they use is real cotton and it's really good for the baby. And then they gave you a couple of free things because you're buying a lot in bulk, right? So I was really excited about that. And then we went to Colin's parents' house and we told his family that we're having a baby.
Oh my God.
His mum was ecstatic. She just goes, "Hung gao xing, hung gao xing, gao xing," like so happy. So happy she forgot her friend's phone number that she was trying to call and she couldn't dial it.
She was like, I need to let everyone know I'm going to have another grandchild.
Yeah, she was just so ecstatically happy. So the week ended on a positive note. I also did go to the doctor on Wednesday and have a quick scan and a checkup, and everything looked okay and everything was all right. So
we got to see baby, and baby looks nice and healthy, and I got to see the scan and
I
was like, oh.
It waved at me in the thing. I was so happy. So yeah, so that was our weeks. Okay, so our topic this week is, what's our topic this week, Cheryl?
Oh, we're going to talk about sex during pregnancy, everyone.
And after pregnancy.
And after, yes.
Yes. Not just for expecting mums. Actually, do you know, I really think that this is a conversation that most women and men, if there's any men out there, you should be listening to this.
Yes.
I think this will really give you a good insight onto the woman's mind. But I think we're not just going to be speaking about what happens to mums and pregnancy. You know, some topics are going to stray away a bit from pregnancy. We don't always have to be discussing that. So we are going to be talking about sex during pregnancy and after pregnancy. So let's start with during pregnancy.
Yeah.
Now, you're a mum, so you've gone through all trimesters.
Yes.
What was it like for you?
So for me, I have to be honest. So it is not sexy. It is not something people see in the movies where, you know, it's like romantic. It's almost, okay, so the first trimester, you are worried. Like everyone would say, is it okay to have sex during the first trimester? And I'm not a doctor. So for me, we were fine. We had sex. The doctor said it was fine. And we had no issues because my stomach wasn't so big. The only time we had issues was actually in my last trimester. My last trimester, it was almost like a hippo, you know,
Yeah,
like a hippo. You're so big, and like getting into the bed and moving and maneuvering the stomach, and you know you can't just lie on your back. You can't just lie on your side. You have to do it in a way that is comfortable for the both of you, right?
So, yeah, because we both researched this, And after 20 weeks, you're not supposed to lie on your back anymore, right? Because it hits, what nerve is it again? Can you remember?
I think it's let me take a look.
Yeah, I
did
know
take
there's like a main nerve or artery or something that it can, the baby.
It's a blood vessel in your belly that you
Yes.
can compress, like your uterus weight is too heavy for. And you
Okay.
can cut off the circulation. That's what they
And that
say.
can cause fainting, heart arrhythmia, things like that, right? So they actually say left is best.
Yes.
Lying on your left is
And they
the
did
best.
say that about heartburn too, like when you go to sleep to lie on your left.
Yes.
So that you don't have such bad acid reflux.
So missionaries out the question after 20.
So missionary, but we did not use missionary. We did doggy style every time because it was just the most easiest. My husband is someone also who is very visual. So for him, he found it not that he was put off. He just said that it was very hard for him to concentrate, especially if he saw the baby moving. Yeah.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, so every time if he saw the baby moving, he would say to me like, "It's not you. It's just it's like it's weird, like I'm trying to be sexy with my wife, and then my child's moving, and once we were getting it on, and he felt the baby kick onto his hand, and he just told me like, that's it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't. And some men, they don't get put off by it. Like we've spoken to friends about it. They were like, no, it doesn't bother them. Alec is someone who is very he needs like concentration. He doesn't even like if the dogs bark, he's just like, oh no, he needs it to be just us in the room. So he found it really
To be honest, I have always thought about that with dogs. I don't know how people can have sex in a room with a dog.
Yeah.
I would find that really weird.
We remove them and we like go to your beds, and we have something called a crate. We did crate training. We put them in the crate if we know that we're going to do stuff, or we're going to bed. When every night when we go to bed, they get put in their crate and they know it. They find that their safe spot. But yes, I found it weird. Like,
so in Taiwan, a lot of families share the same room for a really long time.
I don't know how they do it. I would
Very
love to
common.
ask someone, like if they are open to tell us what it's like to co-sleep and
have
be
sex.
with, yeah.
When do they find time to do it?
That's why we have a friend whose wife is pregnant now, and they co-sleep with their little one. And I wonder.
Do you think they do it while the child's in the room?
I don't know. So I wouldn't mind asking them, like, can you share with us? And don't be ashamed. It's something
No.
natural. Like, people need to do this. And, like, sex is something natural that everyone does.
Yeah.
But I just think also here in Asia, women are scared to have sex during pregnancy. They think it's going to harm the baby. And
Yeah.
of course, like if you have a placenta problem, or if you have a high risk pregnancy, they say, the doctor will tell you like, oh, you can't, you should not refrain from having sex. Then you should listen. But most of the time the doctor will say, oh, it's fine, do what you need to do. It's a bit awkward to ask here too, because they're not very open.
No.
So I remember being like, can I still have sex? And the doctor was like, sorry. And I'm like, can I still be with my husband? And she was like, oh yeah, no, don't worry about that. That's fine. No, you don't have a problem.
No, I know someone who's pregnant at the moment and they stop sex. They just don't have sex. Yeah.
And
it's like,
if that's you, it's okay. But,
I think for me, I'll be honest, I've never been someone that's had a high sex drive. I know you and Alec have. Like, you've spoke about that with me before. I've never been someone who has had a high sex drive. I like sex. I feel like it's necessary in a relationship to feel that connection. But sometimes I feel pressured. And then once I feel pressured, I'm just like turned off to the idea of it. And it's not like my current partner pressures me at all. I pressure myself. I'm like, oh, I haven't had sex in a week. I need to have sex. Then it's playing on in my mind. But when you're I can only relate to being in the first trimester, right? I'm going into my second trimester now. But, oh God, that sounds so weird to say. But yeah, in the first trimester, my IBS is bad. I'm bloated. My nipples are so sore. I know I said this in the first episode, and a friend that actually listened to our first podcast episode, he listened to it in the morning because he lives in England, and he was like, yeah, it's a really good podcast, but it's very weird to listen to you talk about your nipples at 6 o'clock in the morning, Kat. And now I'm talking about my nipples again. I feel like, it's a theme
but
here.
yes, that's another thing. Like your husband's, I don't know, when you're with your partner, you want to grab onto things, you want to be passionate. And when you're in the first trimester, I remember him
It
like
hurts.
grabbing and squeezing, and I was just like, that's not making me feel good.
No. So I'm like knocking his hands away the whole time.
This area is a no-go.
Yeah,
We're
it's
just
like,
gonna
get
get
away,
it done.
get away, get away.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're bloated. I feel like I don't know which is luckier, being constipated or having diarrhea. I think I would rather have diarrhea than be constipated. I don't know. We should do a poll. Let's see what people
Yes,
vote for.
we'll do one.
Constipation or diarrhea, which is worse during pregnancy? Because when you're constipated, you get sharp pains, right? And those sharp pains can be really triggering and worrying, right? And then also you're even more bloated, gassy. I don't want to be having sex when I'm constipated.
And also,
Painful.
I don't want to, break any dreams for anyone, but when you're about in your third trimester, you have no space. Literally, you're thinking about your husband putting his penis in you. It's like, where's it gonna go? You have literally nowhere else.
So did you have no sex after a certain period?
No, we had sex until, because Kira, on the day, actually she came on due date, but we were told like, oh, do all the things you need to do. Your baby is ready at 37 weeks pregnant, right? And my doctor said, oh, she's on the bigger side, so anytime now you should start preparing to like eat the pineapple, eat the curry. And I was like, okay, so I did all that and we had sex. And actually the day that we did, that evening, she came.
They do say that sex induces labor, don't they?
And I did research it, and it does say that there is something in the man's sperm that releases some chemical into your cervix, and it tells your body to be ready. But at the same time, I researched, like, is it safe all throughout pregnancy? And they said it's fine. It's not going to make you go into labor early. It's just something people ask you to do when your baby's almost going to come out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would say that you had a pretty healthy sex life and sex drive during pregnancy.
But it was a bit weird when I got too big, because I didn't feel sexy. I have friends like my cousin who was like, oh, you should, feel sexy. It's amazing. And you should have sex. And I was like, it's literally like you feel. I felt like a huge hippo walrus, like moving, like literally rolling in the bed was hard for me to roll onto my side. So if the position wasn't right and I had to move, it was just not, I didn't feel like I could move in a sexy way or not that I'm trying to be sexy, but you don't want to feel unsexy. And I found it so hard to maneuver. I couldn't even get out of the bed. My bed was so soft that I'd just be like, someone help me. So imagine me.
And your bed's quite low down as well, isn't it?
So it's like, imagine me moving in the bed and then my husband trying to maneuver me, and he's very small as well. So I was like, this is not...
I'm gonna squash him.
Like, I was just like, I don't feel sexy at all.
I'm at that stage right now where sex is really important to my partner. Like, it is his love language. Yes. It is the way he feels connected. And I'll be honest, if we haven't had sex in 1 week, I can feel a disconnect. Like, I feel like I need it to connect him, because to me, sex is what makes you a partnership. Not just the only thing, don't get me wrong, but I'm friends with you, I don't have sex with you. Yeah. Right? So it's what makes me...
It makes you feel connected. It's like what we were talking about. We spoke about this before. Like, our partners are not very loving. They are loving, but it takes them time to get used to doing touching and like PDA when we go out, right? So I was saying that after sex, it's always, you can tell that they're more loving and they like come and hug you and kiss you. But before that, you can tell there's a little bit of, not aggression, but they seem to be like in a bad mood or irritable. And then once they release it,
it builds up. But at the moment, I'm at that stage, and I'm not afraid to admit it, and it might annoy some women, but I'm at that stage where people will look at me and go, is she fat or is she pregnant? Do I offer her a seat or will I offend her? So it's kind of like, is she, you can't tell I'm pregnant unless I tell you I'm pregnant, or if you knew me.
Yeah. It's the awkward stage between the pregnancy.
Yeah. So it's also the stage I feel the least confident in, I think, and probably will. Yeah. I think once I get a bump, I'm going to be like, oh, I'm pregnant. Like, that's it, I'm pregnant. Like, I can wear clothes that show off the bump.
Yeah.
But right now, it doesn't look like a bump. It's just a belly. And, like, I don't want to show it off, you know? Like, I should be more proud of it. But do you know something else I've realised as well that I find really strange, and I don't know why? I feel like other pregnant women or people that have been pregnant around me right now are kind of judging me. I feel like they're judging my belly in comparison to theirs.
Oh,
like, oh, you're only 3 months. Oh, you're big. Or,
No.
oh, you're only 3 months. Can't see anything.
Yes.
Or, I wasn't that big when I was 3 months. Like, I feel like that with certain people that we know that are pregnant and things like that. And I'm just like, oh. So at the moment, I'm like, is it a bad thing to get big? Is it a bad thing to not get big?
I just think you should just go with it and just let your body be, because everyone's different, right? I had people asking me if I had twins, and I was just like, no, it's just one baby. I just carry different. I mean, I had someone ask me 2 weeks ago if I was pregnant, and I was just
I
like,
remember.
no, this is just how my belly looks. And she was like, oh, sorry, because the rest of you is small. It's just your belly. You have like, when you give, some women have it, not everyone. I have
a pooch.
It's like a pooch, but it's like it sticks out when you, because of your muscles not going back to normal, right? So there are exercises you can do, but it's not controllable. Yes, I still have meat on my body, but she was like, it's not a normal bump. It looks like a pregnancy bump. And I was like, yeah, it's probably because I've had a baby.
And your muscles haven't gone
back. But I was like looking at other people, and some people, they have flat tummies and they just probably have good genetics, or that they didn't have that problem.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, you know, a little bit offended by it, because she was so like, oh, you know, and you're pregnant at the moment. And I'm like, no. And I was having a thin day. You know, I woke up that morning thinking, damn, I look good. I've lost weight. I'm so happy. And then someone does that. It actually, you know, makes you feel a little bit self-conscious. Like after that day, I was just like, not wearing this dress again to work.
But I don't think you look pregnant at all in the slightest. And I think it baffles me that anyone would say that, because unless you're 100%, don't say it.
I know.
Just don't say it.
It's just awkward when someone's like, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I think we wanted to discuss sex this week just because we wanted to, like, you know, if there's anyone out there and their relationship is being affected, listen to this. Like, it's normal, okay? Like, you're gonna get a little bit tense with each other. There's gonna be times where your sex drive is higher when your sex drive is lower. You know, you're growing a baby inside of you. Your body's completely changing, and do whatever makes you comfortable. But I think
it's okay also to say to your partner, like,
yes,
I'm not into it.
I was just gonna say that. Communicate and say.
And just let them know.
Because I think sometimes men sit there and they think, is she going to be ready tonight? Is she
also,
going to be...
sometimes men think that there's something wrong. Like, if they haven't... But if you tell them, like, I used to say to Alec, like, I don't feel good, and it doesn't... I'm so swollen, and I just don't want to. He understands. I mean, he's going to go sort himself out, right? And, you know, that's natural, too. Yeah. So I told him, like, it's not going to happen this week, sorry. And we, before having our daughter, would do it probably almost 4 times a week, and that's not normal for some people, and some people it's more. It's just because we both, for us, we do enjoy it, and it's something that we like to do. But since pregnancy and giving birth, it's been like, okay, it says they tell you 6 weeks, you should wait 6 weeks. We did not, okay? Don't take my advice, but it's because I felt like my body healed really well. Even when I went for my 6 weeks checkup, I asked the doctor, like, oh, is it okay to have sex? And she was like, yeah, it's fine, your body healed fine. And I was like, oh, I was worried. I thought maybe I had done something wrong, and I was worried I'd get an infection. And I was like, oh, we've already done it. And she was like, no, it's fine. And she was almost like she didn't want to hear me say more. She was like, it's okay, it's fine, you're fine. You don't have any problems. I'm not saying go do it. Some people wait. I know some friends of mine wait a year, and they're not ready. And their husbands are understanding. They're like, we understand. I have some moms that tell me that their body feels like it's their child's body and not their husband's anymore. And you do get over it, but it takes everyone different stages. Like, she breastfed for a while, and she was like, I just don't feel comfortable with my husband touching me, because it's like, you know, I must be honest, like when I first breastfed, it's like, it never stops leaking. So while you're doing it and stuff, the sensation of someone touching your boobs the milk
Yeah.
just comes out, and it's a bit like ew. And for me, because it's like sticky. It's a sweet. It's very like sweet milk. So maybe it's your husband's not bothered by it, but after I stopped breastfeeding and we were doing things in the bedroom, it just felt so. I was like, oh, finally,
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about like all this leakage, and I actually feel like me again.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you just said to like actually communicate and speak to your husband or your partner, because that's it. I completely agree with that, and I actually did that today. Like, it's been a week since we had sex, and I can tell it's building, like that tension kind of, and I am horny. I just don't feel great.
Yeah.
And I did say to him today, I was like, right, tonight is our night, we are having sex tonight. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, so be careful with what you eat today. I was like, right, I'm gonna be careful with what I eat today.
Yes.
So like, not eating too much and just being healthy with my choices so that my stomach is less bloated, more comfortable, drink lots of water, move around a bit more, so that I'm less bloated. And I said, I'm going to come home, we're going to have a shower together, and we're going to have sex. And he was like, okay. So now he knows, he's ready.
Yeah.
And then we can have sex, and then I can...
It's good.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's really good to communicate, just because...
Definitely.
Men will find a way, right? And they will release tension in their body any way they need to. So sometimes it's also good to tell them, because Alec is probably going to be upset, but he will satisfy himself, and sometimes I'll be like, I'm in the mood, and he's like, I literally just took a shower, and then I know, I'm like, okay, well, we can't do it now, right? Because you can't, he's he's one of those people.
I love how you're like telling details, and literally like about 30 minutes ago, her husband just left because he helped us set up today, which was great. And he's like, just don't go too detailed, okay? We need to keep some things private. And Cheryl was like, blah, say it all.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry, Alec. I will ask for forgiveness later.
So,
just one more thing I wanted to add in was the lubrications. All lubes are safe, but it's best to go with water-based when you're pregnant. Water-based lubrications. I'm not saying maybe people don't need it, but sometimes when you're pregnant, it depends on the mood you're in. You might be wanting to do it, but you're not like getting enough lubrication. There are different types, and I have a list here.
Get a dry vagina when you're pregnant?
I don't know, but I did like to use a little bit, because sometimes
because you get dry mouth, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if it is. But after giving birth to Kira, the first few weeks, not after 6 weeks, I realized that I am turned on, but I'm not getting...
As wet?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I did get lubrication, and I used one that was called like Pre-Seed or something like that. And it was a water-based one. It's great. And actually, I think that one on the bottle, it's like great to be using if you're trying to get pregnant.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
It's like they are friendly for that. I don't know if it's maybe some lubrications, damaged sperm. I don't know if it's to do with that, but there are a whole list here that I wrote down, and I can share it also with you guys when I post the podcast. But there's also something called Good Clean Love and Aloe Candabra. Okay, Good Clean Love Almost Naked and Wet Orgasmic.
Very creative with their names.
Yes. So you can get these all on Amazon, and but I used the Pre-Seed one, which is one that is friendly, but I also used it all throughout my pregnancy.
Okay.
Because not always, but sometimes I would just be like, oh, it's just much easier to just lubricate it up and stick it in and do the thing. Sometimes I was like, I'm not in the mood to do foreplay, sorry, today, so let's just get to the main action.
I'm glad you've listed those, because honestly, that's something I wouldn't have even thought about.
Oh, sorry, it's Wet Organics, not orgasmy.
I wouldn't have even thought about it. I don't use lubricant, and I've used it once, and it was quite a disaster story for me. So yeah, it just... I don't know, it just didn't feel very good. And then, okay, too much information, but like 2 days later, I was like out and about, and I just felt, like sometimes when you're on your period, you feel a gush.
Yeah.
I felt a gush, and I was like, oh, what's that? And it felt really wet, and I went to the bathroom, and it was all the lubricant.
Yeah.
So I know the vagina's a self-cleaning organ, right? So it will clean it out. So
that's why they always say water-based, because I did read something about that.
Because this was latex.
Yes. They
Yeah.
were like, if it's latex, it also irritates, like a woman, you know, we don't like to talk about, but we everything's inwards, so and
Yeah.
it's hot and moist down there, so you don't want to
Infection.
have an infection. And I did use one that is like the condom one, I forgot the name.
Durex.
Durex, yes, Durex one, they have one, and it just did not do well.
I use that also.
When I first started dating my husband, we got that, and it just even when
That's
we were
what
using
gushed out of
condoms,
me.
it always made me have irritations down there.
Yeah.
So we had to find something that was not going to irritate me. And he's fine. Like, I don't know if men ever have irritations down there. I
Yeah.
feel really sorry for women. We always have to take the brunt of everything.
No, they
like,
do. I think they do get infections and things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't a nice experience for me. And you can smell, because lube has that smell, right?
Yeah.
So I could smell that it was lubricant, and I was like, oh, I didn't get an infection though. So
Yeah,
that's
so
good.
I always say, you know, if you want to do a little bit of something fun and you want more moisture because you're having struggles with that before or during or after pregnancy, you should go for a water-based lubricant, so that, you know, it just makes everything feel a lot better down
Okay.
there.
So, West meets East.
Yes.
I feel like we need some music for this.
Yeah.
Like some Western music meeting some Eastern
Yes.
music. Maybe, I don't know, something that...
Something great. Like, I mean, if you guys are listening and you think, oh, you have one that goes well, you're welcome to send it through,
Yeah,
or give
or
us the
create
name.
one for us.
Yes,
Yeah,
we'd
that
love
would be
that.
great. So, West meets East. So we were looking at some superstitions this time
Yes, and I have
that
a few here.
Eastern people may have and Western people may have. So you found one for the Eastern, so for
yes.
Asians in Taiwan mostly, I think, also, right?
Yes.
What was that superstition that you found?
Okay, so we have a few over here, and the first one is renovating or moving to a new home. They say you are not allowed to renovate your home all throughout your pregnancy. I did not know that. My mom told me only the first trimester, so clearly she doesn't know, or she's forgotten. And you should not move to a new house when you are just pregnant throughout your whole pregnancy. So
Yeah.
you said you had a friend who also...
Oh, it wasn't a friend. It was that girl. I mentioned her last time, Taylor R. I watched her YouTube, and she lives in Hong Kong with her boyfriend,
Yes.
who's from Hong Kong, and they were moving apartments, and they were renovating. No, they weren't moving apartments. They were renovating the spare bedroom into a nursery. And whilst those renovations were going on, he actually moved her out the apartment. She actually had to rent a new apartment and live in a new apartment while she was pregnant, while the renovations were going on, because they said it's really bad luck for her to be around all the renovations.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I guess that's something in the East.
Which is weird, because Westerners, we would be renovating ourselves. Not
Yeah.
only would we be
Okay.
in the house that's being renovated, would be hammering stuff ourselves.
So we did that when I was pregnant with my daughter. We renovated her room. We did all of
Yeah.
the paint ourselves. We did everything. So, you know, everyone, you go with what you believe in, okay? And there's a second one. The second one is no pregnancy announcements in the first 3 months. And I feel like that is both East and West. So,
Yeah.
you know, perfect. And
Which we
know
spoke
why.
about last on the last episode, and I'm interested to know what people think. Like, do you think it's bad luck to tell
I don't
people?
know if it's bad luck, but they do say that there's a 20% chance that you will have a miscarriage in the first
3 months.
3 months. And this is why you should wait, because, you know, you get so excited and you tell everyone. And as I said in the last podcast, that's up to you. If you want to share your news
Yeah.
and you want to go through the whole process of grieving with your friends and family, then that's great. I'm happy for you to do that. And not me, just like you should be happy with the choice that you've made.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just think it's also okay to be open and not make it such a taboo subject, because people almost, I feel like some women find it shameful that they've gone through a miscarriage.
Yeah,
And it's
and
not
I can
a
relate
shame
to that.
thing.
I said that to Colin last night after telling his family that we'd announced that we were pregnant. And now I was like, now the pressure's on. Like, now if something, because I'm still waiting. I've got another 2 weeks to wait for my genetic testing to come back to make sure everything's okay. And I was like, what if something doesn't come back okay? Like, the shame of having to tell people that are so excited that you're pregnant, so excited that, oh, you know, we have to terminate because
Of all
genetically
these things,
something's
yeah.
gone wrong, or it's not healthy for baby or healthy for mum, you know, that's scary.
Yeah.
And it puts on more pressure. It makes the pregnancy seem more real.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, you know, but at the same time, it's also good because you might find, you might connect with people, not just family, maybe friends that are like, actually, I've gone through exactly the same thing. Maybe not genetics, maybe it's something else, and you guys can bond over that and get
Yeah.
the support.
Yeah.
So at the same time, yes, it's sad, things happen, but it's nice to know that you're not alone when these things happen.
It's hard to not feel shame through it though, because it's your body and you feel
But
like
and I feel so bad for women because they always like, oh, I don't know what, like, okay, so my best friend, she's been trying for a baby for 2 years. I told you she was pregnant. I was very excited. I told people at work, like you and Martin, and I was like, I shouldn't have said anything. And then she went for a scan and the baby didn't have a heartbeat. So now I phoned her the other day. She asked me how my husband's doing. He's just gone through a big accident and recovery. And I asked her, like, how are you doing? And she was like, oh, you know, I am going to try and conceive again. And I said, I'm so happy to hear that. And she said they did a test where they can test the tissue, and she was like, everything, it would have been a healthy baby. She just says they don't know what went wrong. And I could tell on her face, because it was a video call, that she felt like it's her body did something. And I said to her, like, look, maybe it's your body, but most of the time it's not something you can control. These things happen. It's a freak accident, just like what happened to my husband. So I just said to her, like, I don't want you to feel discouraged. And I know it's scary. Like, she was like, now I'm more scared because I told everyone. She literally told everyone. And she was like, and my dad went and told everyone. And she was getting messages from people she didn't even know. So it does... At that point, I did feel like, you know, if someone tells you shouldn't tell people because they're going to message her. And I was like, you know, it's okay to tell people. Like, she was like, I'm happy to share it with my family and go through this. But she was like, it was like random people sending me messages saying not to give up. And she just felt really like, why did my dad go do that?
defeated almost. That's...
So, yes, that is one thing. So, another one is no eating carbs or seafood. Okay, so Chinese especially...
Carbs? Wait, carbs?
Yeah, carbs. It says... Oh, no, not carbs, sorry, crabs.
Oh,
crabs
I was going to say, Cheryl, because
no,
last night I told Colin's mum, she was like, what have you been eating? Like, what's helping you? And I was like, me and bao, which is bread. And she was like, oh, no, too much. So when you say, like, carbs, I'm like, no, that's
sorry,
all I've
I'm
been
so
eating.
sorry. I read that too quickly. I just saw CABS and I was like, carbs.
Oh
I
my
love
God,
carbs.
don't.
Okay, so they say not to eat seafood, especially crabs, is because they think that your baby will have many hands and legs. I'm not joking. That's exactly what it says on here. But it does say that there's a fact that seafood is rich in protein and iron and zinc, which is good for the baby to develop. Pay attention to predator fish like sharks and swordfish, which contains high level of mercury. So I mean, I don't think we eat shark or swordfish.
No, I don't.
But
no.
in China, I think in the East they do.
Yes,
so
yeah.
they do say stay away from that. As long as crabs and seafoods are cooked well, moms to be can eat them, especially during their third trimester and prompt baby's brain development. So that's good. But yes, it's a bit weird that they think your baby will get so many legs.
That's very,
I don't know
very
if they have that
strange.
in the West. Like I
That's
think in the
very
West
strange.
we eat whatever we want.
Yeah,
I mean, of
but
course,
there's...
the doctor will tell you what not to eat. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, like, I'll eat crab. Don't think my baby's going to become a crab.
No.
That's weird.
No. Yeah, that is weird. I think the difference between Westerners and, between myself, I can say, and other Taiwanese women that I've been around that are pregnant, is they are way more cautious.
Yes.
They take it way more seriously and they are way more cautious. They're so careful, like won't carry books and won't run or walk fast.
Yes.
Things like that. And I'm like running through the corridors holding all my students'
I
books.
was like lifting things. When I
Yeah.
was lifting things and renovating, my mom was like, you should not be lifting things and renovating in the first trimester.
Yeah.
She was like-
Didn't you say the renovation was due to something like banging?
The banging of it bangs out the baby. My mom would say that, like, you banging out the baby, which is like pushing the baby out. And I was like, Mom, don't be ridiculous. I've never heard such nonsense. And my mom was like, no, I'm serious.
I hate the word banging. I have a weird story about the word banging, and it kind of connects to like sex. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but I'm going to say it. God, I hope my mum's not listening. So when we were kids, me and my sister, if we needed something when we were in the bedroom, we used to bang on the floor, and my mum used to come into the bedroom and be like, what's wrong? What's wrong? But years down the line, like, I'm like 20 something, like 19, 20 something, and I'm in my bedroom with my boyfriend, and I'm on top. And the next thing I know, my mum came running in the room like, I heard banging. And I was like, oh, no, oh. And she was like, oh, closed the door. And I was like, oh, God. So now whenever I hear the word banging, I just have this flashback of my mum in my bedroom while I'm sat on top of my boyfriend. And she's like, I heard banging. I'm like, no. and then she slammed the door and she opened it just ajar and was like, sorry, I thought you were in trouble. And then like closed the door again. I was like, no, I'm fine. And just like lie there, like talking of things that turn our boyfriends off. Well, that was one of them.
that was the end.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm sorry. I just feel like, as a mom, you're like,
that's just, yeah, I think our mums aren't even going to listen to this episode.
No, it's fine. I was just thinking as me as a mom, like,
No, that's what I'm saying, though. I think both of our mums know the topic of this podcast, this episode, and they're just like, I'll give this one a miss.
Yeah, my mom was like, no, thank you.
Okay, was there anything else you wanted to add?
And there's another one. The fourth one is no attending weddings or funerals because they think it will have the opposite effect. So the lack of a bride and groom may have the harm of health to the baby or mum to be. But the fact, says facts here, it was like, it's perfectly safe for mums and baby to go to a wedding or funeral. As long as you wear a comfortable outfit. That's what it says.
Oh my God.
So I'm just like,
How many pregnant women have you seen at weddings before? I mean, come on.
Yeah. I've seen many, but actually, I don't know if I've seen in Taiwan. I've not been to many weddings here, though. I've been to a lot of Western weddings.
Yeah.
And like, back home, I went to a lot of weddings, and I've
been to a lot of Taiwanese weddings because Colin's friends and family. I don't think I have seen a pregnant person at a wedding, or maybe I just didn't realize because I didn't think about it.
And the last one is no scissors or needles on the bed.
On the bed.
Chinese believes that using scissors and needles may lead to the baby with a cleft lip.
Oh, a cleft lip.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean...
The fact is, there is no evidence that this is true.
But also, like, having scissors and needles on the bed anyway is dangerous.
Yeah, but it's like, woohoo! Like, okay, today I'm going to just throw the scissors and needles on my bed and lie on it. Woo!
You'll get a cleft lip.
Yeah.
Like, you
I was
roll
just like,
over and damage yourself.
why would you put that up there? But anyway, that is a weird thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is something that they believe in.
And that's fine. I think I can't, off the top of my head, think of any superstitions we have when being pregnant.
I just know that they say not to tell anyone in the first 3 months. Which is
I know
like,
that,
but it is not something like crazy, like having many legs or whatever.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know, back in South Africa, back home, the African culture, they don't allow you to give shoes. You can't buy shoes for an unborn child. You have to wait until the baby is out and then you can buy shoes. But if someone's pregnant, you don't gift them shoes. You always gift clothes or toys.
Okay, that does remind me of one actually. We don't like to use used car seats.
Oh, really?
I've heard that a lot. I don't know if that's just like my area,
Oh.
but they say like don't use a car seat because like maybe that car's been in a crash or had an accident or something. It's bad luck. So they just don't like, people like to buy new car seats. They don't.
Sorry,
like
Kira, Mummy got you a second-hand car seat.
Yeah, Colin keeps talking to me about we need to buy more second-hand stuff and save money and be resourceful.
Don't worry, I've got all that for you.
You even said you were like, I can let you use my high chair.
I bought that high chair thinking, I paid money for it, and I was like, this is going to be great. I can use it in so many ways. And my daughter has only used it as a high chair. Like, they were like, oh, you can use it in her room as a little table. And it just... We bought her a table. We forgot that it even transforms. And I was like, I'm going to let Kat use this for her baby when it's born.
Colin will love that.
It's a really nice one too. So I was just like, it better get some use out of it for the money we paid.
And then we can pass it on to the next person, Okay, so next week. Our topic for next week is going to be a little less funny and a little less... it's a bit more serious.
Yes.
So
it might be funny. You never know.
Yeah.
With a few little jokes here and there.
Sometimes you have to be able to laugh at yourself, right? Hence the name Falls in a Walk. We're all fools in this situation, right? eating disorders during pregnancy
Yes.
and after pregnancy.
And even before.
Yes.
So we both have
Yes.
this experience. I had it before, and then body image after pregnancy.
Yes. And it's something we really want to open the space up for having an open conversation. It would be great if you guys can comment, let us know your stories. Even on this podcast, comment some of your stories because we can read them out on the next podcast.
And you can always do it anonymously. You do not have to put your name on it.
Yes. Tell us some funny sex during pregnancy
Yes.
or when you weren't pregnant.
Send it
sex
through
stories
to our
that are funny.
Instagram. We would love to read. We even repost it. Don't worry. We will block out your names and everything.
Yes. So we really want to have a good open conversation about confidence and eating disorders. And, you know, like Cheryl said, we both have suffered, haven't we, from having an eating disorder. And it is something that I feel never goes. You just learn to live with it and you
Yes.
learn to manage it. And then when things like this happen, like pregnancy, it can trigger something. So we want to talk about that a bit, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's the end of our podcast.
Yeah.
We need something as we end also. Like
Yes.
no. I don't
Yes.
know, something at the end.
Yeah, we're gonna get that all together, and
We're
we
gonna get
will
better and
be
better and better.
better and better next week, and hopefully we can update you guys on our time that it takes us to set up.
So we're on what are we on? We're on
Episode 2.
Spotify.
Oh.
We still need to sort out the Apple
Yes,
podcast.
so I emailed them already about
Okay,
that.
great. And then we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, and we do put some short clips on YouTube as well. They're not overly professional videos, but they're there if you want to have a little watch and a little listen
Yes,
for
and
free.
bear with us.
Yeah.
We're just two human beings trying to make it work.
Yes. All right.
Okay,
See you
thank
next
you.
week, guys. Bye.
Bye.